Hey guys, it's Raffles again. I recently ordered two books online, Book of the Sith, the Book of Tyrael. This one I will probably review it later on, depending on how much time I have. This book takes place after the events of Diablo 3, before the events that transpire in the upcoming Reaper of Souls expansion. The book also works in conjunction with another book that's similar to it, that was released, I'm pretty sure, around a year ago, called the Book of Cain. You don't necessarily have to own both of them to understand the story and the lore and the background information, but it's good to have because they work together. The Book of Tyrael mentions the Book of Cain a lot, and the Book of Cain tends to provide more specific details on certain events that transpired in the Diablo universe, namely upon the books such as the Sin War trilogy, the books starting from Demon's Bane, Legacy of Blood, Black Road, Kingdom of Shadow. There's tons of other books that provide a good background story for the Diablo universe, which I suggest all of you guys should check out. As for the Book of Tyrael, it mentions a lot of works of Cain on his research about the end of days. He writes down a lot of stuff in his tome, and so what happens is Tyrael continues Cain's research and adds additional insight to the subject and provides a different perspective of things, because as you all know, Tyrael used to be an angel, now he's immortal. As you may also have heard already, and also because of the reason why I'm doing the video today, is been just announced that Reaper of Souls expansion will be coming out next March 25th to be exact. And as you guys might know, I'll probably be getting the collector's edition, as I'm a sucker for these things, and I most likely will put a review for it too on my channel. Make sure you tune in for that too. Anyways, let's get straight to the point. This book, as a disclaimer, is really heavy on spoilers and assumes that you finished Diablo 3. And I also just suggest you guys to go on to the Diablo YouTube channel and watch two videos on there. One of them will be the Reaper of Souls intro cinematic, as well as another video which is animated called Diablo 3 Wrath. These two videos are pretty important for the upcoming expansion, and it also ties into some of the stuff in the book. So I suggest you watch that and then come back to me if you still want to know more about this book, and maybe hopefully get one yourself. I mean, why not, right? Look at this amazing artwork. Blizzard will never fail you on that. Anyways, let's get straight into it. I have some of these little white tabs on the top because I just want to put some references as to some of the specific things that I want to show you guys that I thought it was interesting, that really brought back the nostalgic factor of the first Diablo up until now. So once again, I'm going to say this. There's going to be heavy spoilers, so spoiler alert. Turn off this video if you don't want to know what else is happening in the universe and you just want to find out yourself eventually. Okay, so it begins. Those of you that play the game will know that Cain has unfortunately been killed by Magda. So as I said before, the Book of Tyrael essentially continues Cain's research, but through the eyes of Tyrael. So what happens is, in this book, it will also have not just research that Cain's done for the end of days, but also it will have original findings that Tyrael found whilst during the journey beyond the destruction and subsequent rebuilding of the high heavens at the end of Diablo 3. It will also include some excerpts of Leia's journal that I'm pretty sure did not show up in the game. It just puts things into perspective on her relationship with her mother, Adria. I don't want to say too much about what's inside the book, but I will discuss in relation to how it may tie into the Reaper of Souls expansion. One really great quote I want to read to you guys is this one. "And at the end of days, wisdom shall be lost. As justice falls upon the world of men, valor shall turn to wrath, and all hope will be swallowed by despair. Death at last shall spread its wings over all as fate lies shattered forever." Sorry, I kind of butchered that, but the reason why I chose this one is because it mentions so many of the things that might be happening in Reaper of Souls. It's so hard not to believe that something crazy is going to be happening with the Anger's Archangel Council. I mean, the end of days, technically it kind of started, I believe, when Diablo attacked the high heavens. Wisdom shall be lost. We know that Malthael, which is the Archangel of Wisdom, He's just been missing for some random reason. No one knows why, not even his own followers. And justice falls upon the world of men. Justice was Tyrael's aspect, which is why he lost his angelic powers, because he gave up his angelic powers to go back to Sanctuary to help mankind fight against the legions of hell, and also to try to stop the end of days. Valor shall turn to wrath. Okay, this will be explained quite well if you watch the video called Diablo 3 Wrath, and I'm pretty sure you'll kind of conclude on what will actually happen in Reaper of Souls, that Tyrael might not be the only archangel that we will fight in the game, as well as Hope, which is Auriel. So what happens is we know that hope will be swallowed by despair, meaning there might be a chance that Auriel might actually become the aspect of despair. Hopefully not, because that would be pretty messed up. That'll be a bunch of archangels that we're gonna have to be fighting against. And Death, we know that from the cinematic of Reaper of Souls, Death is actually Tyrael, so the Archangel Wisdom. He pretty much shed his aspect and became Death itself. So Death at last shall spread its wings all over as fate lies shattered forever. We know that Tyrael is the aspect of fate, so we're not sure what happens to him, so I'm guessing that he might be just struck down and became incapacitated. We don't know yet. That's all speculation so far. This is a really, really great. Just this quote itself is like a prologue to the game. I'm so excited. So okay, sorry about that. We're gonna keep moving on. Here's an amazing picture of Leia, kind of morphing into Diablo there. So I'm gonna keep skipping into the pages where I want to show you guys. Don't want to show you too much. Okay, so essentially the book starts off with trying to explain as much as the writers can about Adria and her relation with Magda and the Coven. We find out that the Coven is actually just a modern day concept of a old religion or cult called the Triune, which is heavily explored upon in one of the books. I'm not sure which one, but a Google search away will help you on that one. So let's move on. So what happens is, we played the game. We know that Adria was actually after the Black Soul Stone, so that she can resurrect Diablo through Leia as a vessel for Diablo. So Zoltan Kulle plays an important part in all of this. I won't go too much into his details because most of it is already talked about in game. Once again, artwork is amazing, amazing, amazing. So we get into the part where Tyrael actually writes more in the tome than just simply pulling excerpts out of the Leia's journals and Kane's research. We talk about his fate as being immortal. It is important to note that the Anger's Council cannot agree on anything anymore, even though the whole point of the High Heavens was order, was harmony. Right now, the Anger's Council can't decide on anything. Thus, this foreshadows the reason why 2 or maybe 3 of the archangels might fall from grace. There's a little sentence I want to read for you guys. He allowed his shame and anger to feed off of one another, blinding him to reason. This is specifically talking about Imperius, the Archangel of Valor. This is pretty much confirmation that Valor will become Wrath. Either he'll keep his place as an Archangel, but just destroy everyone, or he might become a demon. We don't know yet. You know that it's crazy to think that Immortal will be sitting on the Anger's Council, which is the Council of the High Heavens. Imperius is really angry that Tyrael is still on the council, even though he's immortal. This kind of made it so Tyrael kind of hesitant on assuming the full position as being the aspect of wisdom. So it took him a very long time before he was even willing to use Tyrael's sacred item called the Chalice of Chaladar. It is very important to note that in the introduction for Reaper of Souls, Tyrael talks about Horadrim. We know that Kane was the last Horadrim, so how does that make sense? So in this book, it explains how the New Order was formed. Essentially, Kane found a group of mages or scholars or the such that found scrolls of Horadrim that they were studying, and they became really devout. They became a group known as the First Ones. What happened was Tyrael found out about this and recruited them and reformed the order, and they called themselves the New Horadrim. Not as powerful as the original Horadrim, but nonetheless, they were trustworthy and powerful enough for Tyrael to trust them to secure the Black Soulstone. This page is really, really cool because it shows the Book of Cain, Tal Rasha's mask, and Deckard Cain's staff. You can get this book just for the nostalgia factor. I mean, Come on, Tyrael's mask. Everyone knows Tyrael's mask if you play Diablo. So this is pretty much the history section of the book. It will pretty much go through since the beginning of time, or since the beginning of civilization. Explain how different nations, is all more likely how Westmarch was found, because Westmarch will be a very important environment that will probably take place in most of the game when the expansion comes out. It is interesting to note that Westmarch was actually a product of a war camp sent by the Kyrgyzstani Empire back from the eastern continents of Sanctuary. The reason why it's called Westmarch is because they were heading west. I'm not going to talk too much about this. I'm going to let you guys read up on this yourself. Alright, so we're going to be talking about the new class. There's going to be a new class in Reaper of Souls called the Crusader. In this book, they describe in supreme detail on differences between Paladins, the Crusaders, and the Templars. What happened was, let's say, for instance, just to make it easier, the Zakharum Church inside the Diablo universe is essentially the same as the Christianity and Roman Catholic Church, etc., whatever. Crusaders were actually people from inside the church that believed that the church has strayed from its ways of being righteous, stuff like that, blah, 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 blah. And they were founded by one specific guy. I'm not going to mention who. I'm going to let you guys read it. Essentially, they were sent east instead of west, like everyone else, to cleanse the church, to make it a better institution, to religious freedoms, to enforce that. Paladins, on the other hand, were actually Inquisition. They followed the Inquisition. So, like the Spanish Inquisition in our time, they were really, really harsh on people that practice other religions. They might have killed them, they tortured them, etc. So what happened was some paladins broke away from the Inquisition and formed their own group. And the paladin from Diablo 2 will be the playable one, is from that group. So there's good paladins, there's bad paladins. And Crusaders are totally different things. Templars themselves are people that essentially got thrown in jail, or something bad happened to them and they went kind of crazy, and they were essentially brainwashed either through magic or through torture, and they became righteous individuals that are trying to redeem themselves from the sins that they committed. So those are the three classes, but the only playable ones is going to be the Crusader. This is the specific timeline of Sanctuary. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but it's very, very resourceful in terms of outlining the different evils, talking about the eternal conflict, mapping out the important dates from Dawn of Civilization to the Sim War to the Mage Clan Wars to for you guys might have heard of them, Bartok and Horazin, or I know I'm butchering the name. He's the guy that created the Arcane Sanctuary in Diablo 2. And Bartok is actually one of the wave bosses that you fight in Baal's throne room. This is also a really, really cool part. I mean, the entire book's cool, but this really brought on the nostalgia factor just because it mentions the different factions from the games before, like the Amazons, the Assassins, explaining where they're from, the Barbarians, well, they're in Diablo 3, but still, explains in depth into different factions inside the game. Crusaders, the Druids, the Ethereum, which are pretty much the awakened Nephilim in the Sin War books, the Iron Wolves, the hireable mercenaries in Act 3 of Diablo 2. They also show up in Diablo 3 as the guards for the king until they were replaced. What's cool was they specify how the paladins were formed, how the necromancers practiced their different magic, and rogues. Interesting enough, everyone always suspected rogues came from Amazons, and this just confirms it. The Templar, like what I said before, he has a picture of some rogues. I'm only going to be specifically looking at some, namely Bartok, He has an amazing backstory. You guys should read up on it. That's actually him. His armor actually requires the blood sacrifice to make him more powerful. What's interesting is it actually talks about Covetous Shen, which is the jeweler in Diablo 3. It is actually hinted that Covetous Shen might actually be really, really old, or some supernatural being, because he's been mentioned in history over and over again, seeking the specific jewel called the Dirgist. So hopefully there's more backstory for him that will come out in Reaper of Souls. Here's actually a picture of Hephaestus the Armorer from Diablo 2. We kill him to use the Hellforge to destroy the soul stones that we got from killing Mephisto. There's some names that you guys will probably recognize here. Here's a picture of Isabel. Pretty cool. There's a mention of Kasha. Corsic. Lazarus. Just amazing pictures, descriptions of the different characters that we might encounter once again. What's interesting is Morena here, we actually never heard of her before, but the way that it's described here makes me think that she's actually the playable character in the first Diablo, because you can choose to play as a rogue or a sorcerer or a warrior. We know that the warrior is actually Prince Aiden, which is King Leoric's son, that just came back from a war against Westmarch, and we never knew who the lady was, who the rogue lady was. Now we know for sure it's her, because it explains that she arrived in Tristram, which is the town in the first game, during the Darkening, which is pretty much when Diablo took over pretty much the kingdom of Honduras with the help of Lazarus, and that she was a skilled rogue from the Sisters of the Sightless Eye, which, as you can tell, is the rogue mercenaries in the second Diablo. And what happened was, when the last evil has been purged from Tristram, the brave woman ventured back to her order, but she carried something dark with her, a silent madness that ate away at her once noble heart, assuming the name Bloodraven. So now we know the lady, which you can play as in the first Diablo, became Bloodraven in the second Diablo, which is the first quest monster that you have to kill. These are the type of things that I was talking about when I said nostalgia really, really works, or there's tons of nostalgia inside this book. There's just a whole bunch of more pictures. Rakanishu, that really annoying fallen that guards the Cairn Stones in Stony Field in Diablo 2. I remember he would kill tons of new people if they've never met him before. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just the rest of this book is just talking about some interesting characters, giving you a little bit of background, some more pictures, conclusion. Now, here's something else that's cool. This book actually comes with a poster. Let's see this list first. So, Red Tree of Honduras, Decker Kane, Archbishop Lazarus, Prince Albrecht, King Leoric, Queen Ascilla, Prince Aiden, Leia, and Adria. Sorry for this really, really long video, guys. It wasn't supposed to be this long, but I wanted to give you guys an in-depth look. Okay, so amazing poster. So you can see that these are different characters as listed. So Adria, Leia, Priscilla. I'm assuming the bottom right is Prince Aiden. It's King Leoric, Archbishop Lazarus. That's Prince Albrecht under him, and Decker Kane. I'm guessing it's called the Red Tree simply because every single person here died or suffered simply because of Diablo. I think there's something in the back too. Ah, no. Okay, so this shows them what happened after the events of Diablo. So we know that Adria, she obtained the Black Soulstone and used it on Leia, but we don't know what happened after that. She kind of disappeared. Here's Diablo, or Leia, and it's Queen Asilla with her head chopped off. Because of King Leoric. Here's the Skeleton King. Here's the Dark Wanderer, which we know is actually Diablo. In Diablo 2, Diablo himself, the Lord of Terror. That's Archbishop Lazarus. We kill him in the first Diablo. And that's Decker Cain. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So, sorry for the really long video again. Just wanted to... There's so much content in this book. I tried to fit everything in, but I knew I couldn't. So sorry again for the really long video. Shouldn't have gone this long. Try to fit in a lot of content, but I know I couldn't do that. I know you guys would get bored. So I'm going to get straight to reviewing. Well, I'm not reviewing it. I already did that. Sorry again for the extremely long video. I know it's really slow, and I just try to put as much content as I can because the book is amazing. Tons of backstory. I suggest everyone out there should get one if you're a fan of Diablo. Even if you're not, it's just a good read. Even for the art itself, it's amazing. I would rate this book 9 out of 10. I would have given it a 10 out of 10, but personal opinion, reading through this, it was amazing up until the last third of the book. It felt like it's as if someone was writing an essay and started giving up on it, because near the end, all it was just a whole bunch of topics and titles, not too much content, and at most it'll be 1 or 2 paragraphs describing the person or such. I felt a little bit rushed. I felt that they could have done a lot more with that, or maybe just added a separate book or whatever, just made it a different compendium or something. Anyways, I just didn't really like that. But regardless, everything else was amazing, so I give it a 9 out of 10. As always, be happy, eat some more waffles, roll on the floor, laugh sometimes. Don't take things too seriously, and have a great day, guys.